Okay. It is time to continue our project. So we are doing an ad project. We are going to be serving ads. How exciting. Okay. So I'm actually getting pretty excited about this project. I am sometimes you might think that I was joking when I said that. No. I'm getting legitimately excited about this. I'm like, okay, this might be kind of cool because I'm going to be developing the back end. I'm going to be able to do the database interactions. I'm going to be able to serve ads, and I'm here on YouTube, and so I kind of have experience with the ad platform, right? And it's something that big tech really likes, which is, well, that's how they make their money, right? So it's like, oh, hey, yo, this might actually be kind of cool. So let's keep going. I was just thinking about it. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, hey, this project's actually pretty cool. I like it. Okay, but anyways, let's get going. I have my water. I have fresh water now. Fresh. It's always fresh, but I mean, a full glass. There we go. Okay, so first thing is turn up the brightness. There we go. We can see it. So what are we doing? We are here with this. We have this guide that AI made for us, and we're trying to follow this through. Okay, we're trying to understand it line by line by line by line. Understand everything. So the thing that we are doing now is okay. So we just finished modeling all of the SQL. Entities, and what this is, so we have the targeting rule, we have the ad, and we have the campaign. These are the tables within our database, our SQL database. Now the next part down here, we're going to create another one, another file, and this is going to be the campaign cache. So this is going to be trying to do a connection with Redis, so not Postgres anymore. Now we're switching over to Redis. Okay, so let's. I'm gonna just close these ones out, and let's kind of see what are the similarities, because both of these things, both this file and this file, are both modeling a database. Okay, now how are we actually doing that? That's going to be the question. And what are the similarities? Okay, so where do we want to start? We are looking at source, bid engine, service, campaign cache. Okay, so bid engine service, which is going to be okay, go down there. Okay, where are we? Do we need to create that? Hold on, we are all sorts of lost. It's not an infrastructure, so we are in source, and then we go to bid engine, yes. And then within bid engine, we need to have something called services, but it looks like we do not have that in here, so we need to create that. Okay, so bid engine and services, okay, and then within services, we need to create a C# file called campaign cache.cs. Okay, there we go. Cool, so we have these two new items, or a folder and a file. Okay, so what are we going to do? We can actually kind of close this now, give us a little bit more space. So we have these using statements. So we have bidengine.data. Okay, so first thing is, actually, let me open this back up, because we are going to be doing bid engine, which is where bid engine data. So we can include this entire folder, I guess. I thought that this was a namespace. I thought that we always had to, when we were using, I thought that we had to say using and then namespace. Is that correct? Let me click on this and see if it says namespace bid engine data. Okay, so come here. Got it. Yes. Okay. There we go. What? I like it. Let's see. Okay, I like it when things just, click. It's like I made a prediction and that prediction was right. It means that I am kind of understanding something, right? Okay, let me put myself back up here, and we can move this over there. All right, so I can close this again. Well, what does this mean? It means that I have access to all of these different classes. So I have access to app context. And this is where we're modeling our SQL. Okay, so that's what I have. So if I say using and then this namespace, okay, bid engine data, like that. Then this means that, oh, and Copilot is enabled. Let's put a stop to that. There we go. And so now we're going to have bid engine models. So what was the models? That is the namespace, which is models. So we're going to have this one. And now notice that there's two. So let's click this one. Bid engine model, and they should be the same, right? Bid engine models. Awesome, awesome. So they are the same, which means that matches our prediction as well. Using bid engine and then, come on, models. Okay, so we did that. All right, and now using Stack Exchange Redis. Okay, so this and system text JSON. Okay, so these are kind of ones which are they're built by someone else. Okay, so there we go. We're able to get access to Redis and JSON. Now we're going to create our own namespace. All right, let's do that. Namespace, which is going to be what? We are not in models. We are in bid engine. Okay, so bid engine dot services. Okay, like that. There we go. And now we're probably going to have some kind of class. Services, public class campaign cache. Okay, so public class and then cache. Okay, like this, right? Because we're going to have a constructor. Is that correct? No. Okay, so this means we do have a constructor. Okay, well, good news is we just found something which doesn't make sense. I thought that we always had this when we have a constructor, and we don't have this when we don't have a constructor. But they have it like this with the constructor. So I am going to go like this. I'm going to come here. We're going to verify that we're human, and then we are going to ask what's going on with this. Okay. So like this, and then say, I thought that when declaring a class, if there is no parentheses, then it means there is no constructor, but this one seems to not follow that rule. Okay. So, let it do its thinking. I am going to have a sip of water. And then, let's see. Me and Susie are trying to figure out time off for the end of the year. Okay, so constructor in C#. In C#, a constructor is a special method inside the class that has the same name as the class. Yeah, that makes sense. You don't declare constructors when you're declaring the class itself. You write them. Yes, I know, but what about the parentheses there? Here, campaign cache is the constructor. Yes. In C#, when you declare class, public class campaign, you never put parentheses, okay? Oh, okay, well, maybe my memory just served me wrong. Okay, fine. Then my memory was wrong. Okay. So we're going to have these private read-only, these variables. Okay, so let's, iDatabase, where does that come from? Probably here. App DB context. Now we saw that. That was actually one that we wrote ourselves. That is the context to the SQL. Remember? That's what we wrote. iLogger for campaign cache for this object itself, and that's going to be logger. Okay, so let's let's come here and let's create our private variable. So private, and what did it say? Private, not read only. Okay, read only, and then we had, okay, iDatabase. So of type iDatabase Redis. Was it like that? Okay. I don't want an error, so I am actually just going to go like this. Okay. So we are creating a database class, an app context, a logger, and just an integer value. Okay, fine. So now we get to create that the constructor. So public, I don't know what it's going to be yet. Public void, and then campaign cache. Okay, now we do this, and we will probably have to set all of this up. So I'm guessing that we are going to have a thing which is of this type. So actually I should say db like this. Probably gonna have to have that. We might need to have this. Something like this. And then I could see us going like this. Like Redis is equal to db. We're going to see how close we are. I don't know if we're going to get it. And then db context is equal to context like this. And then logger is probably going to... No, we already kind of initialized it, right? Okay, let's see how far we got off. Okay, so I connect. Oh, okay, so we were a little bit off. Okay, so why is this connection multiplexer and it's not of type iDatabase? Oh, iDatabase, this is just going to be an implementable, or an interface, I mean. This is an interface too. Okay. App DB context, so that does match up. DB context is okay, so this one was a hit. So we got 1 out of 3. We got 1 out of 3. Got this one. The Redis one was a miss, but we go Redis here and then get database. So, okay. So maybe this method just returns an iDatabase object. I think that's what's going to happen. We are going, let's write it down, and then we're going to go to ChatGPT to figure that out. So we're going to have this, right? I can actually just go like that, and it should be good, okay? And then they also had another one, which was that logger. So iLogger campaign cache logger, okay. Campaign cache logger, and then we should be able to just go like this. So underscore logger is equal to logger. Okay, so are we good? Connection multiplexer, okay. So I am going to ask, why is db of a oh, and we forgot the get database. So this is actually going to be db dot get db, something like that. What was it? Get database. Okay. Different type than what we declare Redis as. What is this DB which is being passed in? Okay, so obviously I know that we're going to be doing this method which returns an object, and that object is going to be an interface of DB, like database, right? And this is going to be like a higher level object, but or interface. So I'm trying to understand what is the relationship between all of this. Okay. So the types involved IDB. This is the actual Redis database interface you will use to run commands like string get async, okay, or string set async. So we can do get and set some string. I don't know which string, but we can do something and it happens asynchronously. Okay, so constructor parameter db here. Here db is typed as iConnection multiplexer. That's not the same as iDatabase, correct? Instead, the connection object that manages the link to the Redis server. Okay, so this is the thing that has the link to that Redis, okay? So it's the client session, okay, and then from that you can call get database, and that gives you an actual database. Okay, that makes sense. What's wrong in your snippet? Yeah. Get data. Yep. There we go. Okay. Well, I already fixed that. So we're good. We're good. Okay. So let's come here. And so we got this. So we're just setting up our parameters. Okay, that's fine. So now I have a connection to my Redis database, which is being passed in through dependency injection or something. Again, as I said in the past 2 videos now, I'm not even going to be concerned about what's being passed in or where it's being passed in from. That's going to be addressed later. Once I have a better understanding of this project, once I have a better understanding of the scope, and once we actually have it kind of built out a little bit, then I'm going to be able to go and say, okay, where is this happening? Who's calling what? How is all of this being injected? That's later. I'm just saying, okay, cool. I have something which is a session manager. It's being passed in here. I'm getting the database and I'm putting it there. I'm just trying to understand the high level of how it's working. Okay, good. So now we have this. So we have a new character which we have not seen before. Here comes Mr. Task. Okay, we haven't seen this guy before. We don't know what he's all about, but we're going to figure that out in this video. So we have public async task. So of campaign that can be nullable. Awesome. So task is a generic from what we can just see right here. Task is a generic and it does something specific for a campaign. And that campaign could be just null. Okay? And then the method returns a promise, or maybe a task promise, a promise of type task, possibly. Okay. So we are going to look into this a little bit and try to understand this thing here. Var cache key. Okay, so we're just doing a string literal right here. And what is this going to do? So they're going to pass in a campaign ID, okay? And now I have campaign with the scope resolution operator. This is probably just some Redis syntax to say campaign and then the actual ID value. Okay, so probably means like the campaign table or something. I know Redis is key value. I probably should have researched Redis a little bit better before I started this video. I kind of just rushed in. But, okay, I know it's key value. Fine. So I'm creating some string literal. Again, ChatGPT is going to help us with that. Step number 1, try to get it from the Redis cache. Okay, so we are going to take that string and put it into this method, which is a part of the database. So we don't need to touch this. We don't need to deal with this. This is written for us by the creators of Redis. They say, hey, just pass us this string and we will get the string. Does it return the value? Probably, maybe. It is asynchronous. Is this blocking or not blocking? Not sure. And then we say cached, okay? And then we say, does it have a value? So this should be blocking, I believe. Or maybe it allows other threads to run. We're going to have to figure, okay, that's a good question. All right. So before I get too caught off guard, let's just put it in here. Okay. Like this and say what is this new thing? What is this new thing which I have not seen before, which is task? What does it do and how does it work? Okay, that's question number 1. Question number 2 is, let's see, where were we? Here. What is this syntax? What is this syntax? Okay. Question number 3 is going to be this one, and we are going to say, is this blocking? What is this blocking? What and how does this async work? Okay. So if it has a value, which makes me think that it is blocking, right? Because we need to actually see if we've gotten a value. It can't be a promise. That wouldn't quite make sense, because how do you check if it's has a value if it's just a promise? Okay, so now we go logger, log information, and then we log that campaign ID. Okay, so we're just saying, like, hey, here is the campaign ID. Cache hit for campaign ID, and then say the campaign ID. Where is this logger actually logging to? Okay, that is follow-up question number 4. Where is this logger actually logging to? Okay, that's a good question for us to ask ourselves. Var campaign JSON serializer deserial. Oh boy. Okay, so we got a good one. Okay. So whenever we see something that is a little bit complex, it means, hey, this is a really good opportunity for us to learn. So what's going on here? Jason serialized. We saw that. We saw him. Where is it? It is in the usings here. Jason? Okay, so it is a function, a method, within that namespace, which has another, or I should say it's a class, right? That has a method called deserialize, and it is generic. So I'm saying for a campaign class, so I put in a class and it deserializes for that class. And then, okay, so cached to string. So what am I getting back here? What object am I getting back? Is it an actual object? Okay, so follow-up question number 5, and that is for this one. Oops. Say V and then, okay, so what object am I actually getting back? Okay, because if it should be just looking at it, okay, looking at this, it should be that we're getting an object of type campaign, and then I'm stringifying it, and then I'm running it through this deserialize method, and the deserialized is kind of customized for a campaign object. Okay. And so in the same one, I am going to say, so not follow-up question number 6, but for this one, I'm going to say, I am trying to understand this in the context of here, okay, which makes me think we have an object, and this might be a little bit verbose, but I'm going to try to type out exactly what I just said here because I want it to correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I want it to say, hey, no, what you said, you have a misunderstanding. There's a misconception which you have in your brain, and let me set you straight. Okay, so I want to be able to kind of list everything out that I just said so that if I said something incorrect, it can be like, oh, I found the error. I found the misunderstanding, which I love. I love if a light is illuminated on my misunderstanding, I will thank the light for that, for bringing me into the light as well. Okay, so let's see. Which makes me think that we have an object of type campaign, and it is called cache. Okay, then I turn it into a string. How do I turn an object into a string? That's a question within, it's a meta question. Question within a question. Okay, so then I turn it into a string. Then after I turn that object into a string, I pass that string into the deserialize method, which has been customized for campaign objects. Then finally, I turn it into a JSON object, and store it into the variable. Okay. Here. And then we return that. So my conception is we are going to be returning a JSON object. Okay. Let's actually just press go because we've gotten a lot so far. We have a lot of questions and we are just right here. And we already have so many wonderful questions that we have happened upon. Isn't that fun? Okay. Where's our questions? It should be here. Here it is. Okay, so took a little bit. It was a little bit too fast for me. I was planning on taking a sip of water. Let's take a breather for a couple seconds. Okay. So, what is a task? In C#, task is part of the async await system. Okay, so task probably is going to be something which you can only use when you are in a function which is declared as asynchronous. Okay. So what does a task actually do? That's going to be our next question. Okay. A task is generic, just like we saw, for, I believe we put campaign in there, right? Yep, a nullable campaign. Okay. So task represents a future result that will eventually contain a value of type T. Wonderful. I'm going to reread that and try to put it in my head. Okay. A task T represents a future result. It is a promise. It is a promise that will result in that T object. So here, what are we returning? We are returning a promise that will result in a campaign object, but it might be null. So it could be a campaign or it could be null. Okay. We are going. We are going. Do you see how fast we're going? I love it. Think about Python's quarantine object. So I told it way up at the beginning, and I said, "Oh, can you explain this particular thing in the context of Python?" And now it explains everything in the context of Python. I think what I'm going to do is try to clear its memory of that and just say, like, explain it as a, like, using analogies or something like that. Because when I know Python in the context of a lot of sequential programming, and that's one of the things that I really want to get away from by doing personal projects. That's why I do personal projects, is because I really want to stretch myself and grow. And previously, when I was in school, or everything that I really do is much more sequential. School and work is just step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. But I want to be able to work on more complex and actual software engineering. And so when I used Python, it was mainly in the context of, like, training machine learning models in school. I would train machine learning models, or I would do, like, networking things, or whatever I would need to do, and it would be very sequential. So I know Python, but I don't know a lot of these. I've never used async in Python before. The other thing is, okay, well, now at work, I'm mainly in C, which C for embedded systems. So that single-threaded, well, okay, C can be multi-threaded, but in my instance, I'm working in single-threaded C, non-object oriented So it's very bing 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 like that. And like C would make up about 10% of my job, and the other 90% of my job is actual like electrical engineering, so looking in data sheets, trying to understand what is this physical component, why is it not operating the way that I want it to, which values should I be writing into which register to get this electrical component to operate the way that I'm hoping it to operate, right? Like, so that's why I want to do these personal projects, is so that, hey, I get a lot more experience building the stuff that I'm kind of interested in, which is building these bigger like software, actual legitimate software engineering systems. So, all right. That's a long way of saying I don't know. I don't know Python's quarantine object. I apologize. You don't get the result immediately, but you get a promise. On the other hand, like, should I just keep letting it do this? And that way I learn a little bit about Python as well, because I'm like, oh, hey, that's actually kind of cool. I didn't know that Python had async functionality. I don't know if Python probably doesn't seem like the Python seems like a very much a language which is heavily it's very good for that sequential stuff. It's a script language, right? Bing, 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 bing. But I don't know how it would expand out into a more full-fledged thing. I think from what I'm feeling, it seems like the two professional languages are like Java and C sharp. That seems, I don't know if I'm way off base on this or if it's kind of accurate. I don't know. But it seems like these are the two languages that a lot of corporations really develop their professional applications on. These two things. But I could be completely wrong. Okay. That takes another water break. All right. So, task int. Okay, so before we look at this, task int, what does that mean? It's a promise that when resolved, it's going to give you an integer. Okay. So, task int t some async method returns immediately. Okay, so it's not blocking. It returns immediately. Bing. And then I can say await t, waits until finish. Oh, hold on, we have that await though, don't we? Yes, we do. So we could delete this, okay, and then get a promise, and then in the next one do like cached equals await cached, and then it would block. I believe C sharp has something to, which is like a thread manager. And I think when you do await, it allows other threads to run. That might be a follow-up question that I want to ask. So for the time which await will cause the program to stall, what happens? I heard there is something in C sharp which is a thread manager, I think it is. What is this? What does it do? How does it operate? And do we have any other questions for it? How does it operate? And in my project, I am not explicitly, there we go, I think so, yeah, okay, forking, like fork to create new threads, because I know that when you're operating in C, so I said that I don't do multi-threaded for C at work, but I have done multi-threaded just on my own in C. And you have to do the fork and the joins, and you have to then make sure that you don't have any race conditions, and that a variable here, if it's being incremented by one thread, if you have another thread that is also working on that same object, you don't want it to context switch and kind of have the stale value in the register when the thread 1 starts, gets this variable in its register, then thread 2 takes over, increments it, changes it, but now you take back control in thread 1, the original one, and you have stale values in here, so it updates it, but updates it to something which didn't take into consideration this one. So you have to do like locks and semaphores and what was it, mutexes, right? Like spend locks, all of that, whatever type of lock you want. Semaphores, I guess, are not, they're kind of locks, but they're more like they're a gate, I guess you could call it, right? You can only have like whatever 10. If you have 10 semaphores or something, you can 10 processes, or not processes, threads can take a semaphore and then they give it back once they're done. Anyways, so I didn't explicitly call any new threads here. And the question that I'm going to be asking is like, okay, well then what takes over? So then what would take over? Okay, so let's follow up question number 1. So we can await, and it waits for it to finish. So there we go. It's putting everything in terms of Python. Okay, so what is var key cache equals, and then this string syntax. So this is string interpolation. Okay, so that's what it's called in C#. String interpolation. String interpolation. Okay, so the $sign and then quotes means you can embed variables inside of an object, like curly brackets, directly in the string, okay? Okay, so it just means like when we're doing the printf and you have the %d, so it just allows you to embed a variable within a string. Okay, fine, that's whatever. But I was kind of meaning more like, I wasn't actually meaning that, because that makes sense. What I was meaning is like this right here. What is this syntax, and how is this helpful in terms of Redis? Because we're plugging this into Redis, but I should, again, I apologize. I should have done more research. I don't know much about Redis. I know it's a key value, and I know it's in memory, and I know it's quick, but I don't know how this is working. So let me do follow-up question number 2 like this, and say, in terms of Redis, no, not redistribution, Redis, what does this mean? Okay, there we go. So here, is it blocking? No, it's not. No, it's not blocking. But you just said it was blocking up here. You just said it was blocking. Uh-huh. You thought I wasn't going to catch that, but I did. Okay, here we go. Follow-up question number 3. Looks like we were on. Okay. So here you say it is blocking, but then you say this, that. So no, it is not blocking. Okay. String get async. starts an asynchronous operation to fetch from Redis. Await tells the compiler, pause here, okay? Pause here until the result is ready, but don't block the thread. Okay. How do you wait in place but not block a thread? While waiting, the thread can do other work. What other work is the thread going to do? That seems, while waiting, it can do other work. Okay. All right, so where does logger log information log to? So we have this object which is called logger. Okay, this is also a new guy for us. I like making new friends. It's a new friend. It's logger. It is a class called logger, customized for the campaign cache object. Okay, and now we are printing, essentially printing to this object, but who is he? Where does he live? How do I find him? I would like to know. Okay. iLogger is an abstraction. It doesn't know where logs go. All right, so iLogger is an abstraction. It doesn't know where logs go. Okay. It depends on how logging is configured in your app. Common destinations, console, files, cloud logging. So writes a log entry and configures logging. Yeah, that was amazingly unhelpful. Okay, question number 4. Can you give me examples of how, and I am going to actually change this. Instead of giving me Python, can you give me analogies? Is that how you spell it? Analogies? I don't know. Anyways, can you just give me analogies? Okay, can you give me examples of how a logger would work and how I can see the output? Also, because one of the things that I do want to learn a lot about is cloud. So, can you give 2 examples and one of them be about cloud? Okay. So, what object am I getting back from string async? Okay. So this returns a Redis value. Okay, so it's a Redis value, not necessarily, it's not an object. I thought it was an object of type campaign. Redis value is a struct that can hold a string, a byte array, or an empty array. Or be empty, sorry. It's not a campaign object yet. It's just the raw data stored in Redis. Okay, here's the flow. So you stored the campaign earlier as JSON. Okay, so I stored it in Redis as JSON. Before I do that, I am going to take another sip. Okay. You stored the campaign earlier as JSON. var JSON, right here, var JSON equals JSON serializer, serialize DB campaign. Okay, so what's going on there? So we have this DB campaign, database campaign, serialize something. Okay. I don't know what DB campaign is, but we're getting. I'm guessing that this is an object, that this is an actual object. We're serializing. I don't know what serialize means. Serial 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, but the result is a JSON object. Okay. Then I put into Redis a key and that JSON object. Okay. So now, Redis holds a JSON string like, so this is going to be this JSON. So it is the return of this, of this. So here it is. We have a JSON object, which is ID here. So this is kind of our campaign information. The columns within the campaign table of the Postgres, the SQL database, okay? So ID here, name here, ads is a nested, or no, it's ads, key is the string ads, value is an array, okay? Targeting rules here. Later you fetch it. So then I can do await here, and I get cached. Now cached is a Redis value containing that JSON string. So we get the JSON string, not an actual object. Oh. I guess you can say it is an object. It's a JSON object, but what I'm meaning is I thought we were getting like that class which we created, the instantiated class, which is the object. But no, we're just getting a JSON string. I'm going to call it a string. Okay? It's a string. Now cached is a Redis value containing that JSON string. Okay. So cached to string here. Oh. Cached. So we have a string which we got from the cache. That makes sense. Okay. Then we turn that JSON object to an actual string. We stringify it. Then we deserialize it. And now notice we have the mirror image of serialize, wherever that was. Here, serialize. Now we have deserialize. We put it through the exact JSON serializer. Let's see if that's the same. There it is. See? It's the same. So this object has a serialize and a deserialize method to it. Now we're just doing the inverse. And now so I can actually kind of figure out what serialize is doing if I understand what deserialize is doing. So we have this string and we pass it through deserialize, okay? And then that's going to come here and be stored in the campaign. So here, now I have a real campaign instance. Okay, so now I'm actually getting that instance. Okay. So I'm going to click go and let it think. And while that is doing it, I'm going to come back here. So I took a string and I turned it into an actual object. And it knows what object to create because I gave it the template. I gave it the class right there. Huh. Okay. Okay. Things are starting to fall into place a little bit. I'm starting to at least understand conceptually, kind of like, oh, okay, I'm understanding how C# is working a lot better than I was a couple, even days ago, right? Like, even 5 days ago, I was like, every time I saw those angled brackets, I was, woof, it spooked me. But now I'm like, okay, I see. It's a customized version of this method or object or whatever it is, right? Like, okay, it knows what a campaign is because I told it. All right, then we return that campaign. There we go. So this is probably finished. Let's go look for new juicy nuggets of knowledge. All right, so I think we already saw that. Was this what we already saw or not? Yeah, okay, so this is the new one. So, what happens during await? Who manages threads? Okay, think of your program as a busy restaurant. Now it's going to give everything as an analogy. No, just tell me the answer. Just tell me the answer and then give me the analogy. Okay. Using analogies instead of Python. No, just tell me and then give me the analogy. Okay. I'm going to look at this as a good lesson in prompt engineering. I made a mistake. I did not prompt it correctly. So it is a good opportunity for me to learn, to say, hey, you made a mistake. You didn't prompt it correctly, and I shall not make that mistake again. Okay. But let's roll with it. Let's just see what it says, and then maybe we'll change it later. Okay. So think of your program as a busy restaurant kitchen. Okay. Each thread is a cook. Each thread is a cook. Okay. The thread manager. Yep, thread pool. That's what I was thinking of. I've heard this term. I just didn't remember it. The thread pool, there it is like the head chef assigning the tasks. Yep, okay. When you await something like a Redis call, it's like a cook putting a pot of water on to boil. The cook doesn't stand there staring at the pot. Okay. Instead, the cook tells the head chef, I'll come back when the timer buzzes. The cook is then free to chop vegetables or plate dishes, other tasks. Okay, so when the water boils, when Redis responds, the head chef signals, hey, your pot is ready. The cook resumes. Okay, so even though your code looks like it stalls on await, the thread actually released back to the pool and can do other work. You don't explicitly need to fork. The runtime manages this automatically. But what is it doing? Like, is it executing other lines in my code? Is it just handing it back to the operating system? What is it doing? All right, so what does campaign 1234 mean in Redis? Redis is like a giant key value dictionary. Yep, like a phone book. The key is campaign scope resolution operator 1234. The value is the JSON string. Okay, so filling a cabinet. Yeah, we know how dictionaries work. We have done enough LeetCode to know exactly how dictionaries work. Trust me, we have done enough LeetCode to understand dictionaries. All right. So, blocking versus non-blocking. Oh, wait. My water is almost out. Darn. All right. So, analogy. Waiting for laundry. Blocking wait. You sit in front of the washing machine until it finishes. You can't do anything else. The thread is stuck. Non-blocking await. You put clothes in, set the timer, and go away. You kind of said that with the kitchen, right? Like, I mean, it's good. We got a new example or analogy. And then you come back when the alarm buzzes. So when you do this, do the await, and then an asynchronous function, your code pauses at that time, or at that line, but the thread is free to do other tasks. Please give me an example of another task. Okay, when Redis replies, the runtime resumes. Does it just, like, is it assuming that my function or that my program has many other threads which are running? But then wouldn't it just mean that it switches to another thread? What does it mean that the thread itself moves to a different task? That doesn't make any sense. Does that make any sense to you? Doesn't to me. If I have a thread, it's sequential. It does one thing, then the other, then the other, then the other. Okay? Now you can have two threads, and then you can stop one thread or pause it, and then say, hey, this thread can start working now. But if the thread just decides that it's going to go off and do something else, well, then all of its register values, all of its stored states, everything is gone. So, does that make sense? Doesn't make sense to me. Okay, so I think we have more questions that we need to be trying to figure out. Okay, so number one, when you say that the thread is free to do other tasks, can you give me examples of other tasks which it might do? I don't even understand how a thread would be able to do other tasks, because to my understanding, a thread is always procedural, and it has stacks and other state registers, unless it's like a process that it just needs to context switch, that are loaded, unless it is like a process which can do context switching. Maybe like that. I don't know. But does it just go off and do random other lines of my code while waiting? let's try to figure that one out. So, okay, fine. How does logger and okay, so now we're talking about logger. So, analogy is security cameras. Again, it always has to give the analogy now. So, it's like pressing record on an event. Where the recording goes depends on the setup of the system. Okay, fine. 2 examples, console logging, local development. So, logs appear in your terminal window while you run the app. Okay? Sure. But how do you like set it up like that? Logs are sent to Azure Application Insights or AWS CloudWatch. Okay, there you can search and visualize logs across all servers. But how do you actually set that up? I realized I need to start charging my computer. Is getting a little bit low. So let's put this in. There we go. But how do you actually go about setting it up, right? But how do you actually set up the logger? Back to the kitchen. It loves the kitchen, okay? Summary. All right, so follow-up questions here. How far have we actually, maybe later. Okay. How far have we actually gotten? We have not gotten very far. We've gotten this far today. Oh, no, I guess we did this too. So we've gotten, let me show you how far we've gotten today. We got this far. But there we go. This is how much we've done today. And I can't see how long this video has gone, but however long we are right now, we've done that. But it's good because we've gained a lot of information out from it. And we're not even done yet. Okay. All right, what it does, it keeps going back to the analogy. Okay, never mind. Just forget the analogies, please. Just forget them. Just tell me the answer. Okay. You're right. A thread is procedural. It has a stack, registers, and normally it just runs instructions in order. That's my understanding of things. The trick with await is that the runtime saves the state of the method, like a bookmark, okay? Then returns the thread to the thread pool. Okay, the thread can now be used to do other work. So, again, we're back to the kitchen. We're cooking dishes. All right. When the worker puts something in the oven, await, they don't stand there staring. We get it. What is it doing? I don't want to hear about kitchens. Just tell me my. Okay. So the thread doesn't randomly run other lines of code. That's what it makes it sound like. It's just like, well, I'm not going to be boiling this water anymore. I'm going to go cook some fish. So the thread doesn't randomly run other lines of code. It can be reassigned to other queued tasks in your application. So serving incoming HTTP requests, running background jobs, scheduled by my app, handling async database queries. So yeah, I think it just kind of assumes that your program does use other async like functionality, and then the task, what was it called? Thread manager, thread pool. I called up. What was it? What did it call it? Yeah, thread pool just does those other things that you said are multi-threaded. Sure. How do you actually set up the logger? So logging is provided by Microsoft Extension Logging Framework. You don't manually decide where logs go in your classes. You configure it with when your application starts. So what I can do is in Program CS. Again, we haven't even touched program.cs. This is going to be later. So we have var builder, create builder. Okay, so we haven't seen this yet. We'll look at it. Builder logging, clear providers, add console, and then build. Okay, so that's how we set it up. Okay. So now when you call this, you'll see output in the terminal. Okay. So cloud logging production. So we can do this, add application inside telemetry. Now it does it to Azure. Okay, we'll figure that out later. That's fine. Okay, so let's try to actually write this into our thing. So what are we going to have? So we're gonna have a method. It is public async, and it is a. Come on now, I thought I disabled you. Oh, it's probably because it was past that time limit. There you go. Okay, you should not be coming back on anytime soon. Public async, and now what do I want? I want this one is going to be I forget what the name is. Okay, and then we're just gonna go like this, and we're gonna go like this. Okay, and what were we saying that we were going to do? We were going to, oh man, what was it? We're going to connect, we're going to create that string literal, and then we are going to, like, cached is equal to a string literal, like this, and then, something here, scope resolution operator, and then this, and it was campaign ID. So that means campaign ID is in here. ID, and it is of type int. I don't think so, but it's something like this. And then I think this one would be get we were doing something which was like return, and what were we returning? We were returning an object, and it was the actual campaign object. Okay, so right, that means up here we need to return because it's async, task for a campaign. Okay, which could be nullable. Okay. Like this. Okay. So now how do we actually get that? So we have this cached thing here. Okay. And now I want to go into Redis. So I am going to do result is equal to my Redis. Redis dot and get async, something like this, okay? And now, so we're going to try to write it, and then we're going to compare it to see, okay, well, what do we get? I don't think that this isn't the right method call, but that's fine. That's fine. We'll deal with it later. So now I wanted to take this string and get back the object, right? And this is going to be asynchronous, so I need to do await like this, Redis async cached like this. Is it going to be a string and it returns? Okay. So now I can do if result dot not null like this. Then inside of here, the eventual result is going to be returned. Okay, but we're not there yet. We need to actually get this campaign. So campaign is equal to result deserialized. No. So what was the deserialized one? It was part of the JSON dot deserialize, something like this method. And within this, I take this JSON result dot to string, something like this. And then I can return it. It was something like this. Let's look at the actual and see how far we got off. Okay, so var cache key. I am going to take this, copy it, and paste it. Like this. Okay. In the current context. Why not? Whatever. Okay, so because we're not even in the method. Okay, there we go. Okay, so cached cache key, okay, is campaign. All right, so table. So and then campaign ID like that, which matches this, okay? Right, we also need to look at that. What was this one? Public async task of type GUID. Okay, fine. All of this matches up. Get campaign ID. All right, awesome. That's fine. Okay, so we have this. This was the same. Now, result, I called cache. That's fine. Await, Redis, and then get async is the function that we need to do. Or no, string. Sorry, this is the like this on cache key. Okay. Now I can say result dot has value. Has value. And now, okay, so this is just logging. Let's see if we actually got it right. Var campaign JSON serializer, deserialize, okay, of type campaign. So we missed that one. Okay, so let's and then result to string. So, and then we return it. So we actually did get it right. We just missed that one thing. So let's we do this logger, okay? Dot log information, and then I can say cache hit for campaign I don't know why I'm typing this all out. There we go. And then var campaign is equal to dot deserialize, and we want to customize it as a campaign, okay? And then we take this result to string like this, okay? And then we return it. So I think that's all right. So, and then I'm just going to delete the one that I did because this one I trust has less typos. Okay, awesome. All right, so now we take another sip of water and get ready to do the final part of this method. Okay, not in cached query database. Yep. So we just log that it wasn't found. And then var db campaign. So now we're going to SQL. Getting the campaign. And then we have what, anonymous functions, okay. It's not null. We get it in a JSON and store it with the key cache. Okay, so then we store it. We store the JSON, and then we store the times. Okay, whatever. And then we return this one. Yeah, because that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, fine. So I'm going to come here and can you walk through this step by step? Okay. So now what I'm going to do is actually just split this off. There we go. I actually want this one over there. Can I? Okay. And then close this one, and there we go. And I can close this as well, give us a little bit more breathing room. And now I just want to kind of come here and then say if no cache hit, need to find in SQL get object. What are we getting? Campaign. So it is going to be, is it the table or the row in the table? Get campaign, okay. And then we need to like store it in Redis. Then we need to return found object, okay? So we can just do this logging. It's whatever, that's fine. And now we get to the fun part. DB campaign. So here we have await, and then DB context dot campaigns, okay. Include. Okay, so let's come here and see what's going on. Did I drink everything? Yeah. Huh. All right. Entity framework. Oh, we met entity framework yesterday. Okay. Our 1-day-old friend. Hello, Mr. Entity Framework. We're back. Okay, and this one was Entity Framework was a way that we modeled the SQL database and the schema and all of those tables and all of the rows and all of that. And Entity Framework is a C# framework by which you are able to set up and model the SQL, and that way you can use C# notation and C# functions to be able to do SQL operations. Okay. So here's what happens when we do this. You start with a queryable set, which is DB context campaigns. So this is the table, yeah, meaning it represents campaign table and provides iQueryable campaign that EF uses to build a database query, okay? Deferred execution, nothing hits the database yet. You're just building the query expression, okay? Add eager loading of related database, or of related data. So I've heard eager loading before. I've heard it, so it must be a little bit important. So I should pay attention to that. So include ads tells EF to fetch the related ads in each campaign. Is it going to tell me what eager loading means? I guess not. What exactly is eager loading? Okay. So this include tells EF to fetch ads, okay, for each campaign in the same database operation. Avoids the n+1 query problem by loading navigation collections up front. Okay. I don't know what that means. Okay. I meant to do number 2. I was going to say, what is n+1? Okay. All right, eager loading. When you query an entity like a campaign, you tell ORM, object relation model, something, I don't know, to also fetch its related entities like ads or targeting rules. Okay, those are the foreign tables immediately in the same database query, instead of waiting until you cross them later. Okay, fine. An EF core you do include. So campaign here, include the ads table and include the targeting rules. And then first or default, this generates SQL query that joins so that the campaign and its related ad rules are all returned together. Lazy loading. You order the main dish first. Later, when you ask for side dishes, the waiter goes back to the kitchen each time. Multiple trips. Eager loading is you order the main dish and all the sides at once. The waiter brings everything together in one trip. Okay, so the pros are... Okay, I think I see what's going on. But we didn't get that n+1. So as read-only scenarios you can add before. Oh man. Okay, so where were we though? I think we were here. So question number 1 is, what is n+1 query problem? By loading navigation collections, what are navigation collections? Okay. And then, okay, so first or default async adds a where condition for the specific ID. Give me the first campaign with ID or null if none exist. Execute asynchronously. Trigger execution. Send the SQL to the database asynchronously. Translate SQL. So left joins. Left joins. How do we know we are joining anything because we didn't say to join. Okay. Right, hydration. Relation fix up. I'm just gonna say, what are the topics I should know to better understand how this entity framework is interacting with an SQL database. Okay. Let it do its thinking. I am still out of water. It didn't magically appear, and I am probably going to end the video pretty soon. Maybe once we're done with this. Alright, so what is N+1 query problem? It's a performance pitfall in ORMs where fetching one entity leads to many additional queries for the related entities. Okay, an example. You query one campaign. Select all from campaigns. So I'm getting all rows from the campaign. That campaign has 10 ads. Okay, that makes sense. The ORM lazy loads. So lazy means it doesn't load the other, like, related rows in the other tables because we have foreign keys, remember? The ORM loads each ad with its own select star from ads where campaign ID equals the result 1 query for campaign plus 10 queries for ads. N+1 queries. A lot of small queries. Okay, slows down performance dramatically. Solution is to include, is eager loading, include. So EF generates the single query with joins. What are navigation collections? Okay. A navigation property is how one entity navigates to another related entity. So like a foreign key, I think. A navigation collection is specifically a property that is represented in a one-to-many relation. So campaign here, I collection targeting rules. Okay. Navigation, okay, fine. I collection is a navigation. Fine. I don't know, man. I can feel that my brain is starting to be like, okay, it's time for a break. You need to rest. Get some dinner. Take a little bit of time to rest, and then we can come back to it. But my brain is like, I'm struggling to, come on, learn. There's so much here. We need to keep going. But my brain's like, no. All right. How do we know we are joining anything if we didn't explicitly say join? EF core builds SQL queries behind the scene. This include knows that there's a relationship between campaign and ads. Yep. It automatically generates a left join or multiple queries. So we have left join, inner joins, right joins, and then I forget the different types of joins. If you don't see join in your C#, it's because EF abstracts it away. Okay. On, and then this key. Yeah. Okay, so where... Okay, great. Topics to better understand. So LINQ, language integrated query, change tracking, EF keeps track of entities you load and their state. Okay, added, modified, delete. Eager loading, explicit loading. I think we kind of understand this one now. Navigation properties and relationships, query translation, DB context lifestyle, tracking, no tracking queries. Okay. Alright, so I think I am going to leave off the video here, and so yeah, thank you guys for watching this. If you enjoyed it, subscribe. I would love to have you along on this journey. We're going to keep moving forward on this project, keep improving ourselves, and yeah, I'm going to take a little bit of a break. Hopefully I'll be able to do another video tonight, and we will be able to just keep on moving, right? Like, that'll be great. So yeah, thank you for watching. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and subscribe if you want to. I just remembered we did forget to push to GitHub. So let's we didn't. Okay, let's write it out. Let's do this. Okay. C and then no. Let's just do it. And then I'm going to come back once I take a little bit of a break, let the topic settle in. So git status and then git add, okay, git commit, process of adding Redis connection in C#, need to keep implementing. Okay. Git push origin ain. There we go. Okay, so the reason I wanted to do that is obviously I kind of want to collect my little green dots, and we can come here, right, on my GitHub, and we can just refresh this, and we should be able to see our little green dot for today. There we go. So I wanted to get my little green dot, but I didn't want to write this out because I'm too tired right now, and like I would just be copying and my brain wouldn't be processing it, so I didn't want to actually do that. So I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to wait a little bit. I'm going to relax a little bit, take a break. If I feel like, my brain is ready to do another video, we'll come back. If not, I'll start it tomorrow. So actually tomorrow I have a Christmas party at my work, so maybe I won't do a video. I don't know. We'll see. If it stays really late, maybe I will just come home and sleep. Otherwise, I'll be making a video. So yeah, subscribe if you want that, and have a wonderful rest of the day.